I come out and I had like a little hematoma, a little mini stroke, and hit the ground, and they put me back in ICU, and I had pneumonia. They put me in a coma, I guess I was in there for 3 weeks. I remember waking up a few times in ICU, boy, it was not a pleasant experience. Yeah, fucking 3 weeks of that nonsense.
The lights drop. The crowd's roar fades into a low, expectant hum. Somewhere in the darkness, a door opens, and footsteps echo down the long walk to the cage. This is Iron Arena, the place where legends are born, where warriors carve their names into history with blood, sweat, and unshakable will. Tonight, we're telling the story of one such warrior, a man whose name has become synonymous with courage, whose fights have been burned into the memory of every true fan of the sport. This is the unbreakable legacy of Don Frye. The moment the bell rings, a hush falls over the arena, so profound it feels like the world itself has stopped breathing. Thousands of eyes are glued to a single point, the center of the cage, where a figure larger than life stands, not merely standing, but asserting his presence, a living monument to the very essence of courage and resilience. His name is Don Frye, and in that instant, his every move, every measured breath, carries the weight of a story years in the making, a story of blood, sweat, and unyielding resolve that no one watching could possibly grasp in its entirety. The mustache that adorns his face is more than facial hair. It is a symbol, a shield, a banner of an era of fighters who fought not for glory or money, but for the raw, unfiltered satisfaction of testing themselves against the impossible. Frye's journey to that cage didn't start with a microphone, a spotlight, or even a roaring crowd. It began in the quiet crucible of discipline and hardship, in a world where strength was demanded, weakness punished, and every victory earned in the sweat-soaked hours on the wrestling mat. Wrestling was not merely a sport for Frye. It was a rigorous tutor, one that instilled the unforgiving principle that hesitation can kill, that every second counts, that survival depends on the combination of skill, instinct, and an iron will that refuses to yield. These lessons became his foundation, the bedrock upon which he built a career that would eventually terrify opponents and inspire generations. When Frye first stepped into the UFC, he entered not just a competition, but a battlefield. The early OFCs were wild, almost anarchic, arenas of chaos where rules were sparse and the measure of a man was simply whether he could endure, adapt, and dominate. Frye did not merely endure, he thrived. He stormed through tournaments with an aggressive, calculated ferocity that immediately set him apart. His first night in the UFC saw him battle 3 men, one after the other, in a brutal display of endurance, strategy, and relentless pressure. Opponents fell beneath the unyielding power of his fists, the precision of his grappling, and the sheer intimidation of his presence. The crowd didn't just cheer. They bore witness to a force of nature, a fighter who seemed to embody the raw, uncompromising spirit of combat itself. But Frye's ambitions went beyond the American octagon. He sought challenges that would push him to his absolute limits, and that quest led him across the globe to Japan's Pride Fighting Championships, a stage unlike any other. Pride was grandeur, spectacle, and reverence for combat combined into one massive arena where thousands of fans watched in silence during the fight, then erupted with appreciation at every display of courage. Frye's style direct, relentless, uncompromising meshed perfectly with Pride's ethos. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a warrior poet, each punch a stanza, each grapple a verse, each fight a chapter in an ongoing epic. Among his battles, the match against Yoshihiro Takayama became legendary, not because of technical mastery, but because of sheer willpower. From the first second, They collided with the force of two freight trains. Their fists were relentless, each strike echoing like the roll of distant thunder, each block and parry a testament to years of honed reflexes and instinctive toughness. They stood toe to toe, absorbing punishment that would have felled ordinary men, eyes locked in mutual respect and unspoken challenge. The crowd watched, spellbound, as the two titans waged a war that transcended victory or defeat. When the fight ended, both men were broken and bloodied, yet still standing proof that sometimes the measure of a fighter lies not in the final bell, but in the refusal to ever yield. But Frye's story is not merely one of glory. It is also a chronicle of sacrifice, of pain, of battles that extended beyond the cage. Years of punishing fights left his body battered and fragile. His spine, once unbreakable, suffered damage that cast a shadow over his life outside the ring. Doctors warned him to stop. Friends pleaded with him to quit. Yet Frye could not walk away from the fight, from the arena, from the identity that had been forged in countless battles. Every step, every movement was a reminder of the cost of greatness, yet he faced it with the same determination that had carried him through thousands of grueling hours of training. Even in the face of these challenges, Frye's life outside the cage was as complex as it was compelling. Fame, travel, media appearances, and the constant grind of training camps demanded a toll. Relationships strained. Moments of solitude were punctuated by reflection, by a questioning of purpose, by the realization that the path he had chosen was lonely and yet utterly necessary. His spirit, however, remained unbroken, fueled by an insatiable desire to compete, to test himself, to live fully in a way only those who embrace the fight can understand. His comebacks, though not always victorious, were powerful statements of resilience. Each return to competition was a reaffirmation of his essence, a man who refuses to be defined by defeat, who embraces struggle as part of the human experience, and who finds strength not in trophies, but in the relentless pursuit of pushing past limits, in challenging the boundaries of body and mind alike. He became not only a symbol for fans of MMA, but a living lesson in courage, endurance, and the unyielding pursuit of one's calling. Frye's legacy is etched not merely in victories or statistics, but in moments where he could have surrendered and didn't. Moments where pain would have sent most men to their knees. Moments where history watched and understood the meaning of perseverance. The story of Don Frye is a story of human fortitude, of facing insurmountable odds with grit and dignity, and of understanding that true strength lies not in avoiding struggle, but in embracing it, fully and without compromise. Every fight, every bruise, every victory, and every defeat contributes to a larger narrative, a testament to what it means to truly live as a warrior in a world that respects neither weakness nor hesitation. To witness Frye fight is to witness history in motion, a reminder that courage is not an abstract ideal but a lived experience, and that in the Iron Arena, the greatest triumph is not measured in titles, but in the unwavering refusal to back down, to step forward when fear and pain demand retreat, and to confront life itself with the unshakable conviction of a man who has truly understood the essence of combat. This is the Iron Arena, where we don't just tell the stories of fighters. We honor the wars they've fought, the scars they've carried, and the legacy they've left behind. Don Frye's journey is a reminder that greatness isn't defined by perfection, but by the courage to rise every time you've been knocked down. If you've been inspired by this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the lives of MMA's true warriors. This is Iron Arena, and the fight stories live here.